Here we are with the last in the series discussing Army kilts, present and former contracts. This is the kilt that I was grousing about in the first of the series, and I realized that I only listed the negative aspects. I won't apologize for that because I'm from a culture where the lack of criticism constitutes praise. The stitching was very good. There were many good aspects of it. I only highlighted the stuff that I would change. So here's that same kilt after it's been altered and tailored to a female soldier. And this is one of the problems we have in fitting, particularly given the somewhat archaic measuring system where they determine the natural waist and then add a rise on top of that. We have a problem with that because male and female figures above the natural waist, they go out again, and that creates problems in fit. To alter this kilt to make this fit properly, and on the Facebook entry I'll publish the still pictures I had taken for my own reference, is that often with a female figure with a very high kilt you're going to have lots of material just hanging loose. So my remedy for that was to lower the top of the kilt but also raise the strap and buckle so that it was closer to the natural waist itself. I also changed the taper of the pleats because in a male kilt the pleat tapers from the widest point of the seat to the strap and buckle, which is 2.5 inches below the top of the kilt, and then goes parallel up to the top, which is at the natural waist. In a female kilt, we have to have one continuous taper from hip to top of kilt to accommodate their different form, shall we say. Also, I spent a little bit more time, having tailored that constant taper on the pleats, I then had to make a more generous A-line, which we see in older military kilts. So as we're looking at this side, we see also immediately that I've substituted the tartan top band with a plain top band. It's thinner material, it takes up less space, adds less bulk. This had been always done in the past from the Army. They would use this green, this one's sadly torn up unfortunately, this narrow green wool ribbon, worsted wool ribbon, which I suspect, given the many things I see it used for, Army quartermaster stores back in the days when they had in-house tailoring cells, they used this for every darn thing, it seems. So turning the kilt over, we see, for starters, again referring back to that first video, rather than the very blocky cutaway, I have a more graceful cutaway, which doesn't create a hard or a sudden transition, a thick spot or a line on the back of the kilt. I've also left a very generous seam allowance so that we're going to hopefully minimize the tendency for those fell seams to pull apart if they come under load. Also, and to greater advantage for that, I have one piece of canvas. It is lapped and sewn so that it's strong. The canvas has, the inner canvas goes one unbroken piece from the buckle to its matching strap here. Again, the radius by folding it. And it's fastened with a herringbone seam. The herringbone seam is sewn back and forth like this, and because it's herringbone, we have a little bit of give in that direction. No give at all in this direction. The length of the stitch counts for a lot because the closer, the sharper the angle, the more stretch you've got. If the herringbone seam is too open, you're losing that capacity for stretch. The ends of the canvas are tucked under the tartan that was folded back at the pleat. Ideally, if this had been a kilt that I had made, I wouldn't have cut this back at all, and this would be a great deal wider. And so she's tried it on, she wore it for a couple of days, she pronounced it comfortable, it fits properly. So, you can't see it now, but I've signed it. Ian Glass keyed me, grey-haired John fixed me, and the date, I've put my label on it, and now from here I'll install the label and hand it back to the soldier.